بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يئوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم. لا إكراه في الدين قد تبين الرشد من الغي
many stories your house is going to have. And the greater the number of stories, the greater your planning for the foundation. That is what the Holy Prophet was concentrating on. It is unfair, indeed unjust, that Muslims should accuse the Holy Prophet of having left this world without making provision for a successor, leaving Islam unattended. No, he didn't. He didn't. From the very word go, when, as we saw yesterday, he mentioned of himself and his creation, he mentioned of the creation of Imam Ali alayhi salam in the context of Khilafah. We've seen it yesterday and I will not take you back. But insofar as the nurturing of this child, the bringing up of this child went, so that he remains as a stronger pillar to Islam as the Holy Prophet was himself, we find evidence in the words of Imam Ali alayhi salam himself. These are in script. This is why I say the evidence we have on all these issues are substantial and substantiated evidence on these points. And I refer you now to his khutbah in Nahjul Balagha, as you know, and I will not take your time on this. Nahjul Balagha is a book well authenticated by Sunnite scholarships. Indeed, the greatest commentary on Nahjul Balagha comes from the Sunnite scholar Ibn Abi Hadith. He is the one who has given us the largest commentary on Nahjul Balagha. And one of the khutbahs that is famous out of that book, the Khutbat al-Khasiyah, which is sermon number 190, in that khutbah, Imam Ali alayhi salam makes specific mention, express mention of this particular point that we are now discussing. And his words go this way. He says, even in boyhood, I had lowered the chest of famous man of Arabia, as we have seen last year, and we will see in brief this year, and broken and defeated the chiefs of the tribes of Rabi' and Muzar. You do know my position of close kinship and spatial relationship with the Prophet of Allah, may peace be upon him. He says, when I was only a child, he took me over. So we have authentic proof of that act on the part of the Holy Prophet. He used to press me to his chest and lay me beside him in his bed, touch his body with mine, and make me smell the fragrance of prophethood. I ask, was all this for nothing? Does the Holy Prophet take these steps for no reason? But the next line is proof of what we have been discussing and what we saw also in Halabi. He says he used to chew a piece of food and then feed me with it. If it was a food the baby couldn't take by himself, the Holy Prophet would first chew it, lubricate it with his saliva, prepare it for a little one to ingest and digest, and then feed him with his own hands. He used to chew a thing and then feed me with it. He found no lie in my speaking. That doctrine of Isma we have discussed. That truthfulness of Imam Ali alayhi salam, known as Siddiqul Akbar, is mentioned about by himself. And there has not been a single contradiction. There has not been a single criticism of that claim of Imam Ali alayhi salam. Bold as it stands, he says, he found no lie in my speaking, nor weakness in my act. From the time of his weaning Allah had put a great angel with him to take him along the path of high character and good behavior throughout day and night, while I used to follow him like a young camel following the footprints of its mother. Those are significant words. Allah had destined that the Holy Prophet should reach that pinnacle of character, of akhlaq. And Imam Ali alayhi salam is trained on those lines from the very beginning by the Holy Prophet. Indeed, he says, I used to follow him. In other words, inhaling those items of character bit by bit, day after day, night after day, Just as he says, as he describes himself, the little one of a camel keeps following its mother. And a camel is famous for this. The little one of the camel is best known in the animal world of following its mother, close to it, and learning the maximum from its mother. That is the description he chooses. Just two more sentences. Every day he would show me in the form of a banner some of the high traits and commanded me to follow it. So you can see that what we are thinking of logically is exactly what happened in practical life and is described in the words of the Imam himself in Nahjul Balagha. He not only showed him, trained him, commanded him to follow those traits. Every year he used to go in seclusion to the hill of Hira, to the Mount of Hira, where I saw him, but no one else saw him. Hence you find that this spirituality that is contained in Imam Ali alayhi salam, and I do not know if we will get the time, but inshallah if we do get the time we will discuss the spirituality of this Imam. And that is why in today's world the Sufis trace back their guardianship, their ustad right to Imam Ali alayhi salam. And except for one school, which we will discuss later on if time permits, all the remaining schools trace their learning on spiritualism to Imam Ali alayhi salam. That is spiritualism he learned from the Holy Prophet in the Mount Hira. Because what he saw, he says, nobody else could see. But the worldly, earthly point comes up in the next sentence of his khutbah when he says, in those days Islam did not exist in any house except that of the Prophet and Khadija, while I was the third after those two. I used to see and watch the effulgence of divine revelation and message and smelled the fragrance of prophethood. That is the personality we are talking about. The question the youths want to consider is, isn't that the man they want to follow after the Prophet? For has there been another companion who can claim that he has had this training from the Holy Prophet from very birth and in all respects? And this claim of Imam Ali alayhi salam, that at that time there were but two Muslims and he was the third. There was only one house where Allah was worshipped, and that was the house of the Holy Prophet and Khadija, is borne out from Sunnite sources as well. And I will refer you only to one incident which is reported by Tabari from Tarikhul Tabari. Tabari, as you know, is one of the most leading Sunnite historians. He lived in the times of Sheikh Mufid, and he wrote a vast encyclopedia of Islamic history. Indeed, I refer to that particular one because that has been translated into English. You can see how important it was felt to be that it was found necessary to translate it into English, and the translation runs into 38 volumes. What I'm citing to you now appears in the 6th volume. In the 6th volume of that translation, that is a volume that has been translated by Montgomery Watt and by MacDonald. The passage that I cite to you is at page 83 of that volume, and it's reported by Tabari from Ibn Humayd, from Ibn Ishaq. He says, the first male to believe in the messenger of God, to pray with him and to accept the truth of the message he brought from God was Ali ibn Abi Talib, who at that time was just 10 years old. From his birth, he would be only 10 years old. The Imam alayhi salam said he was praying with the Prophet even before that, as we will see in a minute. But here is authentic proof coming from Sunnite source that he was the first to pray behind the Holy Prophet. I make this point. I make this point because it is said of some companions that they became Muslims at young age. They became Muslims soon after prophethood was announced. The point then is that if that is a qualification, it is surpassed by Mawla Ali alayhi salam, that he was indeed one of the first, indeed the third, after the husband and wife, to be praying the way the Holy Prophet taught. And proof of it is contained in Tabari on this particular page. He says, one of the favors which Allah bestowed on Ali ibn Abi Talib was that the Messenger of God was his guardian even before Islam, as we have just seen from Nahjul Balagha. And then he cites this interesting episode, and he gets it from Ibn Humayd. He says that the matter is reported by Tabari that a stage was reached during a famine, that it was necessary that Abu Talib be assisted. And Tabari reports this: a mark of God's favor to Ali ibn Abi Talib and his beneficence and benevolence was the following. When Quraysh were afflicted by a severe drought, the Messenger of God, seeing that Abu Talib had many dependents, said to his uncle Al-Abbas, who was one of the richest of the Banu Hashim at the time, Abbas, your brother Abu Talib has many dependents, and you see how people are suffering from this drought. Come with me and let us lighten the burden of his dependents. I will take one of his sons and you take one, and we will look after them. Al-Abbas agreed. They went to Abu Talib and said, we wish to lighten the burden of your dependents. Abu Talib said to them, as long as you leave Aqil with me, do as you wish. The Messenger of God took Ali and made him a member of his household. This is Tabari now. I'm not citing a Shiite source to you. Tabari says the Prophet took Ali and made him a member of his household. So he belonged to the Ahlul Bayt from that very day, in the days of Jahiliyyah, before even the advent of Islam. And Abbas likewise took Ja'far. Ali ibn Abi Talib continued to live with the Messenger of God until the latter became a prophet, and then followed him, believed in him, accepted the truth of his message. Ja'far remained with Abbas until Ja'far professed Islam and became financially independent of him. And insofar as the prayers are concerned, Tabari reports that there again there is complete proof of how Imam Ali alayhi salam was one of the first. He says, and reports this from Abbas bin Abdullah, he says, I heard Ali say, I am the servant of God and the brother of his messenger. I am the most righteous one, Al-Siddiq Al-Akbar. I say this because some people give that title to a particular companion of the Holy Prophet. Imam Ali alayhi salam has claimed, as Tabari reports, again I'm reading from volume 6 of Tabari at page 81 of the English translation, no one other than I can say this. In other words, nobody could claim that he was a Siddiqul Akbar as Imam Ali alayhi salam claimed. He says, nobody can claim this but a liar and an inventor of falsehoods. I performed the prayer with the Messenger of God 7 years before other men. So you can see, soon, maybe just 4 or 5 years after his birth, he was already saying salah, performing prayers with the Holy Prophet. And this is what Tabari now reports. He reports from Yahya bin Afif, from Afif himself. He says, during the period of Jahiliyyah, I came to Makkah, and I like to read this passage to you so that you can see the you can feel the authenticity of it. He says, I came to Makkah and stayed with Abbas ibn Abdul Muttalib when the sun had risen. And while I was looking at the Kaaba, a young man came up, gazed at the sky. Then he turned to face the Kaaba and stood facing it. Soon afterwards, a youth came and stood on his right. And soon after that, a woman came and stood behind them. The young man bowed, and the youth and the woman bowed. And then the young man stood erect, maybe saying Sami Allahu liman hamida, followed by the youth and the woman. And then the young man prostrated himself, Sijda now. And they did so with him. I say to Abbas, "Oh Abbas, this is a weighty matter." And Abbas said, "It is indeed a weighty matter. Do you know who this is?" I said, "No." He said, "This is Muhammad bin Abdullah bin Abu Talib, my brother's son." "Do you know about this one?" I said, "No." He says, "This is Ali ibn Abi Talib ibn Abdul Muttalib, my brother's son." So the identity of this youth is established beyond doubt, that that was the person, and the person was being identified by his uncle. No question of mistaken identity. Then he says, "Do you know the woman who is behind them?" And I said, "No." He says, "This is Khadija bin Khuwailid, my nephew's wife." And listen to how that paragraph ends. He says, "My nephew has told me that his Lord, the Lord of heaven, has commanded them to do what you have seen them doing. God's oath, I do not know anyone on the face of this earth but these three who follow this religion and worship Allah like this." So when there wasn't in Jahiliyyah anybody to be worshipping Allah, there you found Ali alayhi salam worshipping Allah as Allah dictated through his holy prophet. How does Abbas know? How does Abbas know that the holy prophet was so said? Of course he knew in the Da'wat Dhul Ashira. I will not take you into the details of that particular episode, because it is an episode too well known to you, and we have discussed it last year. But there is just one or two things perhaps that I do want to invite your attention to in respect of that da'wah. It is a da'wah that is, you can see, mentioned by Abbas soon after. Soon after it is narrated to him. 40 people or so were invited. And you know how that little food, the little milk and bread, that when Abu Jahl saw and sees 40 people, he says, "This is not even enough for one person to eat." 40 of them ate and drank to their full, and the food remained just as much as it was. Was that not enough to tell Abu Jahl that there is divine hand behind this meeting? And yet the meeting takes place. The point I want to emphasize is this, that the purpose of the meeting was twofold, and I emphasize this, twofold. First, of course, it was to tell them to become Muslims. The Holy Prophet did this in compliance with the order of Allah. The order of Allah to him was, وَأَنذِرْ أَشِيرَةَ الْأَقْرَبِينَ. Call those who are your kith and kin, and tell them about me. Warn them about me. Allah's message. Surah Al-Anfal, verse 214. Those who wish to look it up. And we discussed this last year anyway. That indeed was the first purpose, to tell them that they must accept those two statements, which you remember the Holy Prophet put so poetically. He said two statements, light on the tongue, but heavy and weighty in their substance. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But there was a second purpose to it, and that is this. The first time he gathers them, before he is able to address them, Abu Jahl takes everybody away, reconvenes the meeting, and at the reconvened meeting, the Holy Prophet addresses this meeting now. He tells them about the first purpose, that they must accept the Shahadatain. Having said that, he then says, "Who amongst you is ready to help me? Because whosoever will help me, will agree to help me today, will be my brother, will be my wasi, will be my executor or trustee, whatever you want to translate, and will be my successor, my Khalifa." I say this because the youth of today says, whenever you set up an organization, you always make a provision for a successor. Have you seen a constitution of any organization which sets out office bearers and does not set out about succession of those office bearers? We will discuss this in greater details perhaps on the 7th or 8th eve. For the moment, suffice it for me to say that this is what the Holy Prophet was doing. He was that intelligent, he was that learned in that time, and taught by Allah Himself subhanahu wa ta'ala to know that he needed to make provision for a successor straight away. And in that very inception of the faith, he says, is there anybody to help me today? Because anybody who does will be my successor. The youth wants to clarify his mind on two matters, which I will deal with presently. Firstly, did this occur at all? Did this incident occur to at all? The youth can have no doubt about it, because the ayah of Quran is mandatory. It commands وَأَنذِرْ أَشِيرَةَ الْأَقْرَبَيْنِ. Warn. It is an order from Allah. Can it be suggested that the Holy Prophet did not fulfill that order? Can it even be imagined that he did not comply with it? If he did, how did he? All historians have set out, and by all I mean not only the Muslim historians. We saw last year what the Christian historians have said, what the Jewish historians have said, and they have set out this episode in almost unanimous terms in its details. But the important point for this evening is the words that the Holy Prophet used. That this person who will be his helper will also be his successor. Was that word used? That is the point of importance to the youth. And indeed, you will see report after report on this particular point. None of them excludes that word. All historians have unanimously said, whoever stands up to be my helper today will be my successor. He will be my brother. And we will see this evening how the Holy Prophet appointed Imam Ali alayhi salam his brother. Another matter, that when the time came and Imam Ali alayhi salam claimed his khilafah, as we will see perhaps on the 9th night. I say this because there are youths who say, but why did he not claim his khilafah? Of course he did. And he claimed it publicly in the court of the person who claimed to be the Khalif of the time. Well, he claimed, one of his first points was that I am the brother of the Holy Prophet. And there was a reason for it, which we will discuss. What had brotherhood to do with it, which we will discuss inshallah. Significant point, proof of which is in Quran. When he said that, a companion said, we don't recognize you as a brother of the Holy Prophet. Strange that any companion should say this, because in this da'wah, the Holy Prophet said, whoever will agree to assist me, and you know, he said this again and again, nobody stood up. Every time Imam Ali alayhi salam stood up, he said, sit down, let us see if there is somebody else who will stand up, you are still a little child. Every time only he stood up, until eventually the Holy Prophet did accept him as his brother, according to Allama Hilli and according to Sheikh Mufid alayhi rahmah. He accepted him in 5 respects: as a brother, as a helper, as an inheritor, as a trustee, and as a successor. But all books are unanimous that he accepted him and appointed him a brother, akhi, wa wasiyyi, and his trustee, wa khalifati, and his successor. Those words appear unanimously. And may I, without consuming your time and without making it unduly boring for you, refer you to some of these ahadith on this particular point, and there are numerous of them. Abul Fida, the leading writer on the life of the Holy Prophet, and Ibn Athir for that matter, but dealing with Abul Fida first, he sets it out clearly in his book, as does the Musnad of Ibn Ahmad. I mentioned the Musnad of Ibn Ahmad bin Hanbal because the Wahhabis of today trace their following to Ahmad bin Hanbal, and Ahmad bin Hanbal reports this particular incident in that way. Abu Fida also reports it in that way. The words that Abu Fida uses are that any person who assists me today, and yakunu akhi wa wasiyyi wa khalifati, those words appear in that report. And when Imam Ali alayhi salam stood up and he accepted him, he said, Inna hadha, for surely this one, that is Imam Ali alayhi salam, Akhi wa wasiyyi wa khalifati fikum, fasma'u lahu wa ati'u. Listen to him and obey him. One of the first orders of the Holy Prophet, when Islam had not even become a public religion, when he is only talking to his family within his household, just the 40 members of the Hashemite family, then he was saying, listen to him and obey him. Is this any less than an imamah? And all historians, Jewish, Christians, or any other denomination, all of them say that at that time, of course, because the family was invited, Abbas was there, of course, Abu Talib was there, of course, Hamza was there, and Abu Jahl was there. All books say that when the Holy Prophet said, I appoint him my wazir and my successor, listen to him, and I've given you the words, and obey him. All report that Abu Jahl immediately turns to Hazrat Abu Talib and says, Oh Abu Talib, you are now ordered to listen to your son and to obey your son. And he laughed and made a joke about it. And that is well reported in all books. Ibn Asakir also reports in the same tone, and so do a number of other writers from various sources. I do not want to consume your time giving you all those references, save to say this, that Ayatullah al-Udhama Al-Hadi al-Milani in his book Qadatuna sets out 18 books, 18 leading Sunni writers, including Al-Hakim al-Askani, Tabari, whom we will refer to in a minute because that's translated into English, Suyuti, Ibn Kathir, etc. 18 writers, all of whom not only contain this particular version, but all of them say that in this particular hadith, the Holy Prophet used not only the name that he will be my helper, but he used the word Khalifati, he will be the successor after me. And I will come straight to Tabari on this particular point, so that this point is made very clear. Again, I'm reading from the English translation of this particular volume of Tabari. The English translation is in volume 6, and the relevant passage is at page 91, and I will not read more than this particular sentence that we are talking about. He says they all held back when the Prophet asked if anybody would help him, and although he quotes from Imam Ali alayhi salam, I was the youngest and the most bleary-eyed, you can see how small he was, pot-bellied and spindly-legged. So he describes himself at that time, the absolute description of a little child, spindly-legged. I said, I will be your helper, O Prophet of God. He put his hand on the back of my neck. You can see how vividly Imam Ali remembers this incident. Puts his hand on the back of my neck and says, this is my brother, my agent. This is how that word is translated. My brother, my agent, and my successor amongst you. Tabari reports this. It is not, my dear fellows, a concoction of the Shias. Tabari reports this particular incident and says, appointed him a successor amongst you, so listen to him and obey him. They rose, Tabari says, they rose up laughing and saying to Abu Talib, he has commanded you to listen to your son and to obey him. Maybe a matter of laughter then, but that matter of laughter has authenticated this particular event, has shown that this event actually took place. Well, if I have satisfied the youths of my community on those 2 points, that this incident must have occurred because Allah ordered the Prophet that it should take place, and that this particular word, secondly, Khalifa, appears in all authentic sources of all denominations. And indeed, in the Christian and Jewish sources then, the question which must arise, and I leave it to that youth to decide for himself, did the Holy Prophet keep his word? If he was at the highest pinnacle of akhlaq, and if he was himself a sadiq and al-amin, we saw this last year, that he was trusted and truthful, those two particular epithets unique to the Holy Prophet. If that is what he was, did he keep his word? Did he appoint Ali a Khalifa or not? If he did not, my dear fellows, can we remain Muslims? Ma'adallahi ta'ala. That is the crucial issue. Because then it is accusing him of not, ma'adallah, keeping his own word. Indeed, indeed. Soon after this particular incident, the Holy Prophet announced Islam publicly, and he started to proclaim the faith publicly. And at that particular time, a number of people became Muslims. But there is authentic source that by then Imam Ali alayhi salam was already a Muslim. Indeed, Ahmad bin Hanbal, Tirmidhi, and a number of leading Sunnite scholars report from a companion of the Holy Prophet, Zayd bin Arqam, well accepted in all denominations as authentic. And Zayd bin Arqam says, Qala, this is the Holy Prophet saying, أول من أسلم مع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله علي رضي الله تعالى عنه. The first who accepted Islam was Ali. This comes from Zayd bin Arqam, reported from the Holy Prophet himself. And then he reports another one from Imam Ali, that he became a Muslim when he was a little child, only 10 years old. And then he reports from Anas, another companion well accepted by all denominations, who says, Nubiyan Nabi Yawm Ithnain. The Holy Prophet announced his prophethood on a Monday. Wa aslama Aliyun Yawm Thalatha. And the very next day, that is on Tuesday, Ali accepted Islam. So you can see how close it is, as reported by these particular historians. And then Salman also reports from the Holy Prophet. He says, أولكم واردا على الحوض أولكم إسلام علي ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Salman, of course. I mention this of Salman because whilst the other mention of Ali being the first to become Muslim, Salman mentions two things. He says the Holy Prophet said that the first who will meet me on the house will be him, and the first who became Muslim was him. And again, this particular author, Sayyid Muhammad Hadi Milani rahmatullah alayh, sets out a series of books. I mention this because you have no time to listen to these sources, but I have learned last night that there are those of you who are very keen to have these sources, and this is why I make them available. In volume 1 of his work, Qadatuna, at page 82, this Ayatullah rahmatullah alayh sets out in all 36 different books and writers who establish, well, 18 in the first category and 18 in the second category of writers who established that Imam Ali alayhi salam was the first to become Muslim. I make this point, and you can have all those authorities. Most leading one, all of them are set out. Tabari, Ibn Athir, Ibn Khaldun, Ibn Hashim. Some of these we discussed last year. I raise this point because there are those who say that we will accept as a successor of the Prophet a companion who was close to the Prophet from the early days. The question I put to the youth then is, that who earlier in time than Imam Ali alayhi salam? You can see the hadith of Abbas, that there were but 3 praying in the Kaaba, and he says to his friend, this is indeed a weighty matter in the days of Jahiliyyah. Imam Ali alayhi salam claims Abbas reports him, Tabari reports him saying, indeed he was just one of those three who worshipped Allah in those days. But time passes on, and the Holy Prophet now unfolds his mission to the public at large. And what then happened, of course, is very well known to you. What happened then is very well known to you. We discussed last year also at length. But what is also famous is this, that the Quraysh decided, we as elders cannot start assaulting the Prophet publicly. We cannot answer him his word by word. We cannot out-argue him. What he says is true. Well then, the answer is to assault him, to become violent. And this has been the course of history throughout. When a person cannot argue you back, when he cannot give you reason for reason, logic for logic, he resorts to violence. Particularly if he's a tyrant. Particularly if he's an oppressor. Well, this is what the Quraysh did to the Holy Prophet. They brought little children to assault him. And it is so well known that at that time, Imam Ali alayhi salam immediately went. And he says in his own words, but I do not wish to take your time quoting from Nahjul Balagha on that too. He says, I broke the bones of some of them. I broke the teeth of some of them. And I hurled some of them down so that they would not dare come again to point even a finger at the Holy Prophet. That is the kind of loyalty that Hazrat Amir alayhi salam showed. Why do I say this? This is so well known to you. I say it in the scheme of my case to you during these 9 nights. And it is this, that if the Holy Prophet in that invitation he gave to his family, Da'wat al-Ashira, told him that he would be his successor, would he not have appointed him? And one can argue, yes, the Holy Prophet would be justified, that Sadiq and Amin would be justified in not keeping his word, in repudiating his word, if you like, if Imam Ali alayhi salam also repudiated his promise. Imam Ali's promise was only one, to be the helper of the Holy Prophet. The Prophet's promises were at least 3 or perhaps 5. To accept him as a brother, to accept him as a helper, to make him his inheritor, to make him his successor, to make him his agent. But Imam Ali's proof and promise was only one, that I will be your helper. And you can see this promise being kept soon after it was made. And indeed, he says, even before that, when the Holy Prophet was nurturing him, and we saw this in Khutbat al-Khasiyah, in Nahjul Balagha, he was ever truthful to his word, and the Holy Prophet did not even find him weak in the fulfillment of his word. And this is how he continued to live throughout his life in Makkah. We will discuss Medina tomorrow night, inshallah, but we must go at a pace so that we at least traverse the biography with a bird's eye view. He keeps his promise and helps the Holy Prophet on each of these occasions and in each of these manners. We discussed, the other thing that I wish to discuss is what we saw, perhaps not to discuss but only to refer to, is this, that last year we saw what happened in the Shayb Abi Talib, how difficult the situation was, and true that one person who was always in the help of the Holy Prophet was Imam Ali alayhi salam. No complaint could be made against him. Indeed, it is said that how often did Hazrat Abu Talib move the Holy Prophet from his bed in Shayb Abu Talib and kept Imam Ali alayhi salam there. It was not only a question of agreeing to lie in that bed. It is a question of agreeing to be killed by the mushrikun of that time so that the life of the Holy Prophet is saved. That was the purpose behind that particular action of Abu Talib and the willingness with which Imam Ali alayhi salam accepted it. We shall discuss it in a little more detail in 5 minutes or so. But before I go to that, let me clear one more instance before we go to Hijrah, and that is this. A time was reached, and this is 1 year before Hijrah, when the Holy Prophet decided to create brotherhoods. We will see this tomorrow night again when it happened in Medina. And when he created brotherhoods, he made one person a brother of another, and we've discussed this last year. He did it because by then he decided Makkah was not his place for propagation. And because of those treaties of Aqaba that I hope you remember, which we discussed last year, he decided he would move to Medina. But not until he had looked after every single person who had become a Muslim. And hence he created these brotherhoods, so that one Muslim is able to help another. And in that brotherhood, he appointed Imam Ali alayhi salam as his brother. Well, again, he was pointing out to us that not only was he keeping his word that he gave in that da'wah, because Imam Ali alayhi salam had been keeping his word, but also that if there is a person competent to attain that closeness to him and to follow in his steps, that would be the person. And indeed, the time came when the Holy Prophet decided he must leave Makkah. He must leave Makkah for Medina. And when that time came, he decided he would go in a way in which the Quraysh would not be able to discern what was going on. The Quraysh by then, as you will remember from last year, had decided that the only way out was to kill the Holy Prophet. Arguments had failed. He was still denouncing the idols. So the answer was, there had three options, as you remember. One was to kill him, one was to expel him, and one was to get him to agree to their terms. They found the third impossible. They found expelling him no good because he could return. Answer was to kill him. And not a single person, but a number of people from various clans. Each clan was to send a representative. Can you imagine? Each clan wanting to be guilty of shedding the holy blood of this Holy Prophet. And they had assembled outside the house of the Holy Prophet. Imam Ali alayhi salam is called over. I do not wish to recite the entire incident. Portions of it we discussed last night. It is well known to you. He is then asked by the Holy Prophet to lie in bed. And Imam Ali asked the Holy Prophet, why are you asking me to do this? No concealment, no treachery. The Holy Prophet tells him in clear words, I have decided to migrate. I will be leaving Makkah tonight. But I do not want these fellows to know that I am leaving. And they are already gathering outside my house to murder me. I want you to sleep in my bed so that they think I am still there. The first question Imam Ali alayhi salam asked is, if they are already outside, how will you go out unseen, unhurt? You can see the concern of Imam Ali alayhi salam for the survival of Islam, for the survival of prophethood. And the Holy Prophet says, Allah has decreed that He will protect me in that particular instance. وَيَمْكُرُونَ وَيَمْكُرُ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ, an ayah we discussed last year, chapter 8, verse 30. He said, that is not a problem. He says, but I would like you to sleep on the bed so that they think that I am sleeping in this bed and you wear my cloak over your head. The only question Imam Ali alayhi salam then asks is, but by my doing so, by my lying in that bed, in your bed, will your life be saved? And the Holy Prophet says, yes, Ali, my life will save. And this is all he asks. He jumps into the bed and the Prophet says, hold on, Ali, two more things, both important for the purposes of our discussion tonight. First, I have deposits from various people in Makkah. I have amana. I cannot return them before I go, because the moment I take that step, they will know I am leaving. My steps will be traced. This will be politically impudent to do. You remain behind. Can you believe this? All the companions are now gone. Only two left in Makkah, Imam Ali alayhi salam and Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr was to be carried by the Holy Prophet himself on the journey. So the only person Now the only male believer to be left in Makkah was Imam Ali alayhi salam. Does that not shake a person by itself? And Imam Ali says, yes indeed, I will remain behind. Tell me now. I don't know, if I was in that shape, I wouldn't even be able to remember to whom what deposit belonged. But the very fact that Imam Ali alayhi salam accepted one deposit after the other, the Holy Prophet says, this belongs to A, that belongs to B, this one belongs to C, to Mr. C or Mrs. C or Miss C, all of them distributed. Imam Ali alayhi salam accepts them all in that breath of that one night. Not only accepts them all, second thing that he is told, perhaps an even heavier responsibility. The Holy Prophet says, Ali, I am leaving, but I've got to leave my family behind. Because if I took my family with me, I would be caught. As we discussed last year, all the people who had converted to Islam were sent away in safety to Medina. The only family that was left behind of the women and children was the family of the Holy Prophet. So that the Quraysh could see the family and be content that the Prophet is going to remain in Medina because his family is in Medina. He says to Imam Ali alayhi salam, you bring them over to me. You bring them over to Medina after I have left and after you have distributed all this. And indeed, it is Imam Ali alayhi salam who took the family of the Holy Prophet to Medina to safety. And we discussed this last year also. Well, he accepts all that in that night, which shows that the degree of his faith, the degree of his loyalty to the Holy Prophet was such that all those swords hanging around him from the windows, and they could be seen, each had a sword and a naked sword, ready to kill the Holy Prophet, and each was supposed to use his sword so that it is not known who from which clan killed the Holy Prophet. Despite the fact that these swords are hanging around on those windows, Imam Ali alayhi salam's concentration is on the word of the Holy Prophet, on what amana goes where, what member of the family is to be rescued in 3 or 4 days to come. The time comes when the Holy Prophet moves out of the house. وَجَعَلْنَا مِنْ بَيْنِ أَيْدِيهِمْ صَدًّا وَمِنْ خَلْفِهِمْ صَدًّا فَأَخْشَيْنَاهُمْ فَهُمْ لَا يُبْصِرُونَ. He moves. Imam Ali alayhi salam turns his side and goes off to sleep. Fulfills the command of the Holy Prophet. What happens next? What happens next? I will read to you from Tabari, because Tabari reports this. Tabari, in this volume 6 at page 93, has great words for the father of Imam Ali, Hazrat Abu Talib. I'm only saying this because there are those who think that he was not a Muslim. Tabari deals with Hazrat Abu Talib at page 93. However, he deals with the Hijrah at page 141 onwards. At page 142 he sets out the scheme which we have already discussed. The passage of importance to which I want to draw your attention is at page 143. And he says, then the messenger of God came out, took a handful of dust and said, yes, I do say that you are one of them. And then he sprinkles dust, etc. Quotes the ayah of Yasin and says, by the time he had finished reciting these verses, he had put dust on the heads of every one of them, after which he went to where he wished to go. Someone who had not been with them came to them, that is to the murderers who were standing there, and said, what are you waiting here for? They said, we are waiting for Muhammad. He said, God has frustrated you, for Muhammad has gone despite you. Furthermore, he has put dust on your heads, on each one of you, and has gone away about his business. Do you not see what has happened to you? Every one of them put his hand on his head and found dust on it. Then they began to investigate and saw Ali on the bed, shrouded in the messenger of God's cloak. They said, by God, this is Muhammad asleep in his cloak. Even when they are now suspicious, having seen the dust on their head, when they look at Ali lying on the bed, they say, this is Muhammad. Shall I say, this is why we follow him? He was Muhammad in all respects. Even in his sleep when he was sleeping, there he was. Hence did the Holy Prophet say, Awwaluna Muhammad, Awsatuna Muhammad, Akhiruna Muhammad, Kulluna Muhammad. The Holy Prophet, and this is logic, pure logic, had to determine three qualities in any person he chose. He could have selected any companion to lie on his bed, but that person had to have three qualities. Logic so demands. Firstly, he had to be a person who resembled the Holy Prophet. Otherwise, it would all be in vain. And you can see how Tabari says, they turned to him and said, no, this is the Holy Prophet lying in this bed. That resemblance was of eminent importance that night. Secondly, he had to be a person who was trustworthy, a person who could keep that secret of the Holy Prophet, because if he let it out, the game would be over and the Holy Prophet would be killed. And we have known of companions who have done that. Well, thirdly, you needed somebody who had confidence in himself, who was prepared to say, if your life would be saved, you will see me sleeping on this bed. And that level of self-sacrifice of Imam Ali alayhi salam, to which I must revert in a matter of minutes, because it is of eminent importance. However, Tabari says, they say, by God, this is Muhammad asleep. They continued in this fashion until morning came, when Ali rose from the bed. Then they said, by God, the person who was speaking to us was telling us the truth. He was telling us the truth. And having said that, they confronted Imam Ali alayhi salam. Sheikh Mufid tells a different version of that episode at that time. But I'm not telling you what the Shiite writer says. I'm proceeding with Tabari. Tabari says, they then walked into the house. Ali rose from his bed, and when they came close to him, they recognized him and said, where is your companion? He replied, I do not know. And he didn't. He didn't know how far the Holy Prophet had reached. I do not know. Do you expect me to keep watch over him? You told him to leave. He has left. Can you see the confidence of that person at that particular point in time? He is not shaken by those swords. Badr had not come, Uhud had not come. This is Ali even before then. He is not shaken by those swords. He turns round to them and says, you asked him to go. He has gone. Now what are you complaining about? And having said that, he walks out. They scolded him and beat him. Then they took him to the mosque and imprisoned him for a while. But after this, they left him alone. Thus, God delivered his messenger from their plotting and about this event. And then Tabari quotes the ayah of Quran that I've already quoted to you. That was the sequence in which the Holy Prophet left Imam Ali alayhi salam to undertake these duties. Well, the Holy Prophet is reported to have said, and this is in Kharazmi, he says, Ali ibn Abi Talibin yunjizu idati wa yaqdi dayni. He is a person who will fulfill my promises and will settle my debts. But before I get into Masaib, because I want to finish Hijrah tonight, let me just tell you one more thing. That was a night, and I do not say this from Shia sources, because you will say again, this is a Shiite source you are giving us. Ahmad bin Hanbal in his Musnad reports this incident as I have set out. But then, what I'd like to finish with is the report from Shiblingi. Shiblingi says, on that particular night, when all this happened, Allah turns around. This is not Hilli, please. This is not Mufid. This is Shiblingi saying. Allah turns to Jibreel and calls Jibreel. He then calls Mikael, the leading of the angels in heaven. He calls them and says, I have decided to make a brotherhood between you two. And having made this brotherhood between you two, I have decided to elongate the life of each one of you. But there is just one thing I want to ask from you. Having elongated your lives, which of you two brothers is prepared to sacrifice his life for the other? Now it is a brother sacrificing for a brother. It's an angel sacrificing for an angel. Indeed, between Jibreel and Mikael, neither of them agreed. Indeed, both of them said, "Oh Allah, give us the chance to worship you that much longer." It is not that they didn't want to follow Allah. The prayer is, how clever these two angels were. We want to worship you for a longer period. If we sacrifice our life for the other, we will be deprived of that virtue of worshipping for you. And Allah says, very well, if that is your answer, look at Makkah. He unfolded the curtains, and Jibreel and Mikael and all the angels can now see Ali lying there. And Allah says, look at him. He is lying there, sacrificing his life for one that he has called a brother. And when that happens, the angels are allowed to come down. Shiblinji, the Sunni author, says in his work, and the work is Nurul Absar, at page 100, he says they come down to the earth. They address Imam Ali alayhi salam. Jibreel stands at the head of Hazrat Amir, Mikael at the foot of Hazrat Amir, and says, Bakhin Lakha, Bakhin, Man mithlika ya Ali. Congratulations to you. Who is there on this world similar to you? Man mithlik, who is there who can be like you? قَدْ بَاهِ اللَّهَ بِكَ مَلَائِكَتُهُ. Allah has spoken to his angels with pride about you. In other words, Allah is proud of you. And Imam Ghazali reports this in Ahya al-Ulum in exactly these words, except that he says, Bakhin, Man mithlika, Ya Abi Talib, Ya Ibn Abi Talib. He does not say Ya Ali. The words are Ibn Abi Talib, Yubahi Allahi bikal malaika, fa'anzal Allahu azza wa jal. That Allah has shown his pride of you to his angels and has revealed this particular ayah. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَشْرِي نَفْسَهُ ابْتِغَاءَ مَرْضَاتِ اللَّهِ وَاللَّهُ رَعُوفٌ بِالْعِبَادِ. Surah Baqarah, verse 207, and what to say of those people who sell their lives, give up their lives for the pleasure of Allah, for attaining the grace of Allah. That is Ali, not a pride to mankind, as we claim him to be, indeed a pride to the angels, as Shiblinji has pointed out in his work. But that is the kind of life Ahlul Bayt have taught, a life of sacrifice for the cause of Islam and for the protection of the Prophet of Islam. And that is what you see running right through the thread of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, from the first to the last. And in these days we remember the sacrifice of Imam Hussein alayhi salam in the field of Karbala, but to save Islam from the phalanges of Yazid and his cronies. But the greater merit of Imam Hussein alayhi salam is that sacrifice is not only seen in Shahzada Ali Akbar, in whose veins flowed the blood of the Holy Prophet, not only in Ali Asghar, not only in Abbas, in whose veins Ali's blood perhaps was flowing, also in those who surrounded Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and even those who met him and stayed with him but for a few days. One classic example is Hur ibn Riyahi. He was with Imam Hussein but for a few days. It is that traveling on the way, and not traveling to learn from him, traveling to stop him from going to Kufa, taking him to Karbala. It is in that adventure, but that proximity to Imam Hussein brought it to him, that element, that spirit of self-sacrifice for the cause of Islam. He found that when he got there, Imam Hussein alayhi salam tells Abbas, "Oh Abbas, don't you see how thirsty these soldiers are?" And Abbas says, "We opened up our water skin bags and gave water to all the soldiers, to all the humans of Hur." He then says, And let history show us another example of this nature. He then says, "Oh Abbas, you gave water to all these men. How about these animals? Don't you see how thirsty these horses are?" All the horses were given water. Imam Hussein is not yet satisfied. He takes water and puts it on the hooves of the horses, says, "Look how hot their hooves have become." That was the stage in which Hur was received by Imam Ali alayhi salam at Zabala. Time comes in Karbala when Hur comes to the camp of Imam Hussein, this time with his hands tied, with his feet tied, and says, "Ya Rasulullah, forgive me." And Imam Hussein alayhi salam says, "I forgive you. Hur, you forgive me. You came the first time at Zabala. I at least gave you water. I gave you food. I gave water to all your companions. Hur, you are now coming at a time when I do not even have water to give you." And Hur says, "Abna Rasulullah, don't say this. You make me feel so guilty. If you do not have water, who is responsible for that? It is I who caused it." Imam Hussein says,